They didn't really do that. During my research today, I found something about XRP, or rather, Ripple found out. We need to talk about that today. However, also about one or two mistakes you might make now. Because right now on one side, we're at the dip, and it never goes further. Down. And on the other side, well, it's all over. But what if this is actually true? That's why today we also have the trading setup. I would say let's just dive right in. See you after the intro. Now new from Trend VIP Trading. Your opportunity to copy the signals of 2 professional traders for free. They managed to grow an account from $4,000 to $30,000 within 2 months. The results in the group are also impressive. All you need for this is a deposit of $100 into your bank account. You can find all further information below in the description. Yes, looking at the heat map, there have been more pleasant sights, and one clearly wonders at this point. The question is, yes, how much further is everything going to fall? What's actually going on there? And above all, what is responsible for it? So, just last night, there was quite a significant setback for Bitcoin again. We will get into the details of that shortly. A new record low. But was that really it? Some people are talking about it and saying that they have guests. That is now closed. Now, it can only go upwards. I want to urge a bit of caution there, but before we get into the details, let's take a look at why the price was shaved off again yesterday afternoon. For everyone who watches my videos more frequently, this should be familiar. I already showed it yesterday. We are completely tied to the traditional market. Here we see, for example, the NASDAQ. And since that support was also crushed, Bitcoin was accordingly affected, not to mention the altcoins. Now it gets interesting. So there was still a bit of a rescue here. And yes, we are currently at a pretty critical value. So we see there was movement here, generally here. There were tests, and then the rejection downwards. Here it was rejected upwards, and here was the effective breakthrough. Now one can say, of course, such corrections are relatively normal, as you can see here as well. Only if it should continue to move downwards here, then we could have something like this. The next zone, so at just about 18,871 plus or minus. And then the next area would be here. And if that support is broken downwards, then we can really talk about having quite a problem. Currently, I still see it relatively relaxed. One of the main reasons why the traditional markets are declining so much, of course, the tariffs. The punitive tariffs imposed by Donald Trump. And in this tweet, I find it totally fascinating, or rather video. It touches exactly on what I already discussed in detail in a video a few days ago. Yes, how is that? Could it possibly be that the fight against the drug cartels and illegal migration is not really the main focus of these tariffs? Could it ultimately just be a fight against the Fed? Because if the economy, that is the US economy, is so massively damaged, as is happening right now, people are talking about a recession, we've lost everything, then the Fed might indeed be forced to implement an interest rate cut. And that's exactly what Trump wants. So if you want to take a closer look at this in detail, feel free to click in here. Yes, and we also see with the spot ETFs, they are quite letting us down. Look at this. We have again recorded corresponding outflows yesterday. Effectively, let's summarize almost since the 20th February, with a few tiny exceptions in relation. We have only massive sales here. But what is really picking up? Wow, what a transition. Are the click numbers and the likes. Many thanks for almost 5,000 clicks and 265 likes. I really appreciate it, because now is the time when most have thrown in the towel, leaving this market in tears. If you are still in the game and still invested, then I truly believe you mean it seriously. And if you also want to seriously support this video, my hours of research, and of course, the entire channel as well, if you want to push it a bit forward, you can do so completely free and easily. Just leave a like now. My personal goal is for us to break the 300 likes mark today. In any case, if you are new to the channel now, you might be wondering, yeah, okay, what do you actually do, Daniel? Here, it's about crypto news. Honestly, fact-based, transparent, without hype, what you need for investing, plus a daily trading setup. And I want to say at this point, if you're interested in that, feel free to leave a free subscription and activate the bell. However, we are in the hot phase, only 50 subscriptions away from 10K. Will we break that today? I'm curious, before we get to the other relevant factors for this week and the topic around Ripple, just briefly, a completely different topic that could certainly cause a stir and feels like it hasn't really reached everyone yet. We're talking about this tiresome topic of the digital euro. I deliberately pulled out an article from Tagesschau, read through it, and thought to myself, man, even you can't find a reason why we absolutely need this thing, because we can already pay digitally. It has now been announced that the digital euro is set to launch in October 2025. By the way, this is such a magnificent mammoth project, which officially costs around, probably unofficially even more, 1 billion euros. And now it's in the final stages. Apparently it stands, well, they somehow want to sell it. Clearly, the problem of the ECB, now speaking quite openly and freely, they have too little control there because most of the control is held currently by MasterCard, Visa, Huawei, PayPal, and so on. All foreign companies, which should now, of course, be much, much better managed by the ECB. Didn't we just have the topic of Fort Knox and the German gold reserves stored there? Is Fort Knox now in Germany? Aha, something completely new. But all right. That means, as mentioned at this point, the gold reserves, we apparently don't need them, but on this topic, we must, of course, take action. Now, the big question is, yes, why? What are supposed to be the advantages? And that's quite exciting. So if you read through it in detail, they say, yes, it's free for the citizen because PayPal is new to me. So as a merchant, you have to, as far as I know, pay fees, but that has nothing to do with the actual for the citizen. But well, so be it. Real-time payments, yes. Well, I can do that with my bank account too. I don't see that as a significantly big new topic. Yes. And then there would be more privacy. Yes. Okay, you could say, okay, PayPal and others, they do collect data somewhere. But on the other hand, yes, well, then all the data is directly with the ECB because in my opinion, that's the main issue. Currently, if you use PayPal, etc., well, then they have the data in the first step, but then comes the bank. And you might not believe it, but there is bank secrecy. That means the ECB cannot just knock directly and say, hey, I'd like some information about that. So they can ask, but whether they get it is another matter. If, of course, the account is directly with the ECB, then one could somehow access it because, of course, they say, yes, there are no personal payment data and such, and they are not used for commercial purposes. Yes, that's all very nice and neat, but in the end, it's still the case that the ECB has complete insight if they want it. And that's the big issue surrounding the question of data protection and so on. I won't delve too deeply into that now. However, if you're interested in more detail, I'm currently planning a video for the weekend about a law, and I'm not talking about Mika, by the way, in case you haven't caught up on that topic yet. Click here. We're talking about an extension to it, and that might also be the plan here. The digital euro is not supposed to replace cash for now, but maybe gradually. Is that perhaps how it's supposed to happen? Who knows? So if you're more interested in the topic, write in the comments, and I'll be happy to work on it separately. What comes out, it's important now, fundamentally, before you either fall into FOMO or panic in any form. I definitely wouldn't recommend the latter. However, FOMO also depends on the situation. In any case, no matter what you're investing in right now, I would practice DCA with altcoins. I'm currently more than cautious. I'm not doing anything at all. However, with the larger assets, even if you're active in trading, it can definitely make sense because we just don't know where exactly the bottom is. Was that perhaps the bottom? And thus, at least you already have a position open, even if we should slide further down. But I'll get to that in a moment because also this week, just because Monday was extremely volatile, it's not all over yet. I explained it in detail yesterday. So you can see it here too. For example, today the JOLTS numbers are coming out. Then tomorrow, what will probably cause the most stir is the consumer price index, and then it just continues like that. On Thursday, we have the producer prices and so on and so forth. If you want to hear that in detail again, I talked about it yesterday. Which factors could cause what? Feel free to check it out here. Now, briefly about these forecasts. Okay, it's basically like saying either it goes down, stays the same, or goes up. Okay, we can't do much with that. So I will provide you with a complete market update here. Before we get to XRP, just a quick note on this, because this is going to be also interesting. The dollar is increasingly losing power. And historically speaking, if we look a bit further out, you can see it even better here. The dollar has weakened and Bitcoin has surged at the same time. Here, exactly the same. Dollar down, Bitcoin surges. At this point, one should also, to keep a bit of realism, say, yes, okay, here it went down. Here it also went down. And then it surged again. We hope that doesn't happen now. Currently, both are definitely capitulating, but several external factors are responsible for that. We've had it with the tariffs. However, if the trend is now immediately led by the dollar, then that could be a good sign for Bitcoin as well. And now directly onto Ripple. I read this headline, read it again, and I'd like to read it to you once more. Is the company handing over 45% of XRP to the US? US government? What? Why is that? Yes, and that is explained further here. Now, one must say validated, source, question mark, and so on, but I don't want to withhold it from you. The talk is that Ripple would be ready to hand over up to 45% of its own XRP holdings. So here's a quick recap on the tokenomics. Ripple, nay, the company, has the authorization to release up to 1 billion tokens per month into the market. Currently, the company still holds approximately around 42 billion tokens. However, not the entire 1 billion is released into the market every month. Sometimes only 200 or 300 million are needed, for example. There is also a report where you can read exactly what the situation is. And these remaining tokens are then locked away. And supposedly Ripple is now ready to enter into this deal to end this legal dispute. And now it becomes interesting in reverse because I don't know to what extent if this should happen, these XRPs are then essentially equivalent since they are in the possession of the US government. And then again, not confiscated, but still may need to be held due to Trump's executive order. Now, to all the moon boys out there, you all hope that XRP will be bought off the open market. The only thing that would happen in this scenario is that potential future selling pressure or inflation would be curbed in buying because these tokens would be locked away. But that would not mean that anything would happen to the price because the free circulating supply would not change at all. So at this point, I am very curious. Feel free to write in the comments. What is your opinion on this? Do you think this could really be true? Could this deal really happen? So just tell me your opinion and especially, what do you think about it? Are you an XRP holder? We know the whole scenario. So just let yourself go in the comments. Now I'll show you my setup in a moment. So I still have open positions here. Yes, they are logically still in the red, but not fatally so. I'm already considering seeing good entry zones again. For example, there would have been one down here if I hadn't been asleep at that time. And I can also give you a tip right away about what blew out a position for me today. I didn't think the market would correct like that again overnight. XRP liquidated my position. Why not? Because I couldn't add more. No, I simply hadn't set a limit order again for protection, or simply increase the margin a little further. Therefore, I can only give you the earnest advice, don't make the same mistake. That was stupid. That was really just stupid. You just have to acknowledge that at this point, so if you have such positions open, you should learn from my mistake. That's why I make these videos. Set a limit order in case it might move into a more critical area. And you see how quickly it can happen that XRP just slips by 5, 6, 7% overnight. And with that, let's dive directly into Bitcoin, specifically in the weekly view. I would like to illustrate it for you once again. In the last bull run, and many are now shouting, it's a bear market, and so on. What do you think was happening down here? We had a correction of almost 60%. In contrast, we've only reached about half of that here. So I don't want to describe it, but just my perspective. And it's always like that, where I think it's so crazy down there. Everyone was shouting too, yes, it won't go any further. Everything is over and nothing will happen anymore. No one knows if it will happen the same way again, that everything has been thrown out here, which might have already been the case here, or possibly even a level lower. Yes, he said it. I will tell you why in a moment. In any case, then it could, of course, continue upwards here again. Do we know it? No, we don't know. No one knows what happened in the past, whether it will repeat itself in the present or now in the future. What is definitely a fact is something many don't want to accept. Even if we hear roughly around 70K should come in again, we are still in an overall uptrend. And here again, briefly, the 4-hour view. Yes, the outcry was quite loud because, wow, incredible. And Bitcoin has now tested a new low at roughly around 76K, 76 to 77K. Something in that direction was definitely effective. This downtrend line was precisely tested here and then fortunately rejected upwards, but that doesn't mean we're out of the hot phase yet. So, I showed it in the traditional market earlier. It will come down to this. What will happen at the stock market opening today? And then there's the big question, will we perhaps even go one floor deeper? Will we perhaps even see 70K again or even below? Why below now? You can see that here because if we look at the 6-month view in the liquidation heat map white, then it shows here from 64, 65K upwards to, let's say, 68K. There's still quite a bit that might be targeted. So I can only give you the tip at this point. Don't go in over leverage long here because you think that nothing will go further down. That can theoretically happen. And practice DCA if that should really happen now. And if we should go down there again. And if, for example, you have opened a position here, you can always add more down here. Just a tip. We all hope for the best now and say it will continue upwards. But we also prepare for the worst, that we might really pick up this entire vector candle here again, maybe even dip down here once more, and then possibly see the upswing upwards. Further look at Ethereum. Yes, it doesn't look rosy there either. So if we see here, I have drawn another line below, and it should even have been tested. Yes, look at that. And that is also my forecast. If everything continues like this and we see a weak NASDAQ, weak traditional markets, I can certainly imagine this volume area here will be targeted again. So this 1740, that would be my next price target for now. And then it could be that we are back in a larger volume area. Depending on how strong the support is, it will either continue upwards or we might even fall another level lower. Also with ADA, we have a pretty critical area. If you look here, it's really on point. It's just really crazy again. Here, the vector candle was completely picked up again. I said in the video a few days ago, look here. Cardano held up great. Here, we only picked up part of the vector candle, which, for example, XRP did directly again after this Trump pump. Yeah, right. It was simply retested completely here again yesterday. And now it gets interesting because we are definitely in a downtrend overall. So now the big question. Will there be a breakthrough here? We are also just about there. Will there be a certain trend reversal here? Or will it continue downwards? And then we would have the next major support area exactly in this zone, which I have marked here. So roughly around 60 cents plus or minus. But it can also quickly continue downwards. And then in the worst case, I don't even want to say it, we could find ourselves somewhere around 35 cents. Plus or minus in the worst case, let's hope not. Last look at XRP. Here too, we see, yes, We have a downtrend. We have an whoop exception here now. With this Trump pump, it also goes cleanly downwards, and my technical price target is at 157.5. That would also be quite plausible depending on what Bitcoin and the traditional market do today, which is quite interesting. And where one could then say, again, it didn't have to liquidate me if I had seen it beforehand. That was on point testing at this downtrend. And now, fortunately, back into this critical zone, which I had already drawn in weeks ago. But as I said, we are far from being out of the hot zone here. As long as the traditional markets and Bitcoin still continue to decline, that's it for now. At this point, as always, I'm curious, write in the comments, do you think Ripple will really pull it off? Otherwise, if you liked the video, if the trading tips hopefully helped you a bit, then feel free to leave a free like, boost this algorithm. Finally, I can give you the tip to check out this video. Yes, I talk about the crypto reserves and what is possible there. And curiously, a few days later, exactly the information came out that you could have had much earlier on my channel. But there's much, much more behind it if you're ready for the truth. Otherwise, we'll see each other tomorrow in the next video. Until then, all the best. Bye.